Welcome to the stream. Sorry about that, folks. I'm still getting set up here. Give me a little bit of time. Just didn't want you to think that the screen might be. Turn that down a bit. All right. All right, so I need to get a clip going here because I want to start off this night by kind of presenting some of the Britney information and a less, I guess, tapping into the whatever the latest gossip is online or whatever the latest story is. I think it's being reported less as gossip at this point, thankfully, and it's more just like a news story. So I'm glad it's being treated on a broader scale with that kind of respect instead of it just being your typical paparazzi story, because I do believe that once you completely unwind what's going on with Britney Spears' conservatorship, it's going to wind up helping a lot of people that are going through things of a very similar nature that just weren't aware that it was happening to them in many cases, because this type of thing, this type of informational control over a person's ability to gain access to outsiders who may seek to help them, or to perhaps, or just for a lack of their own technical awareness or knowledge, may not be understand how their smartphone and internet environments could and might be hacked, and likely are hacked. In fact, I really think it's a very low probability that whatever Britney Spears's home internet or phone internet environment is actually a straightforward experience, is all I'm saying. I really doubt she's experiencing the internet the same way the average person does. I'm guessing they throttle her internet connection in a way that works, I would say, like a 7-second delay, like you would find on like a Super Bowl event that's live, for example. You know, they always have these things set up to where they have a delay on the feed in case something shocking happens that would violate FCC rules. I think that they would do something like that logically, and that there would be good things on the surface that you could point to that would suggest, at the bare minimum, that it's probably happening to her. And I could explain how it works, just a broad overview of how it works when somebody just simply controls your phone informational environment. And then I think once you understand what's happening with her potentially, if you translate that it could happen to nearly anybody anywhere in the country, then I think it's going to give you a greater interest in where your information flows. And that's what I hope to inspire everybody to do once they dig deeper into what's going on with Britney. I hope that you'll understand that what's happening to her is just like it's a microcosm of what's going on to everybody, really, in a way. A lot of people have something going on very similar to her, and just aren't aware. For example, there's now it's known. This is some of the things that have been coming out the last week relative to her, that there is this attorney, I think his name is Jon Eardley, that was trying to contact Britney Spears, wrote a letter to her basically offering his assistance, his legal assistance, free of charge, letting her know that they're taking her down. They're systematically going to churn her through a system where the conservatorship is going to strip her of her rights, her assets, and her children, and that it's a design and a plan to do it to her. This person was desperately trying to contact her in a way that was logical and rational. There was nothing like anything about this that would demonstrate the person was just like trying to ride, Britney Spears's coattails or anything like that. I think this person really was trying to help. Sometimes you just have awareness from your unique perspective about the way certain things go, and you just hope to impress those individuals that may have access to that knowledge, to dig deeper into some of the other things that may be going on within information flow to a celebrity class person like her that isn't a conservatorship, or just simply managed heavily by people that would seek to just basically control the assets of one of their icons through managing them. And that person may not have any awareness how many of their assets are being stolen from them in the background. And I'm just telling you that, guys. I'm not sitting around here saying like, boo hoo, it sucks to be rich. No, but you also don't deserve to have your money stolen from you by everyone around you who uses you like a huge money laundering vehicle or like a big slush fund of money that they can use as long as they can keep cracking the whip on Britney and getting her to go back out to her shows and perform and do what they say, when they say, how they say it. And so again, I want to reiterate something that I had said in previous things. I do really applaud Britney for asserting herself so strongly the way that she did. There's the call that's out there is pretty amazing. If you haven't heard it, there's some her basically going on for, I don't know, it's maybe 20 minutes or so about everything that she's experiencing from her own voice, and to hear the strength in her voice, the fierceness, the self-respect that she's demonstrating, how clear and cognizant she is, how she absolutely does understand everything that's going on. This wasn't only a person that was placed into this conservatorship in a horrendously unjust process of everybody who knew that if they could kick this legal can down the road for years and years and years, it was a guaranteed paycheck that would be arriving at their door every single month if they only worked on one case, which was Britney. You got to see how tempting that is, even for a person of relatively decent moral value, what that could do to their perception and their optics, which is to say that that person that may be, borderline, they may be a lawyer that's like, hey, whatever, I take the cases as they come in. I know the system sucks, but whatever. I think there's a little bit of that going on, but no, I mean, Britney's legal process is really surrounded by vultures that have basically used conservatorships in the past. If you dig deep into the judges that have been connected to their case, a lot of the attorneys that have been forced upon her without her selection or ability to to choose them. And you think about the level of rights that she's had taken away from her, folks. I mean, think this through a little bit. Her reproductive rights, number one. To me, this is probably one of the most sinister elements of this whole thing. A woman at this level who's achieved this kind of success, who is absolutely capable of raising her children in a way, is capable of raising her children just as well, if not better, than anyone else out in the world there, especially considering all the resources that she has access to. Yeah, she's absolutely a person that, personally, would I think that is she the type of person that I would trust around a kid of mine? I don't know her, but there's no red flags that would make me go like, oh, Britney's dangerous. No, not in a million years. And I wouldn't say that about everybody, that are amongst her peers. Some I would be like, yeah, I'm not sure I'd want that person. Whatever, right? But that doesn't mean that, it's just, maybe that's just my personal preference. But no, that's a person I'd be like, yeah, it seems like a nice person. They've got their head in the right place. Yeah, no worries. um, you know, um, but and so I just ask myself at an intuitive level, does any of this sound like it's logical or reasonable or whatever? Okay. So when you get past this guy back in 2008 named Eardley, this attorney tried to get in touch with her, and they not only did not get the letter that he was trying to write Britney to her, that basically said to her, they are doing all this to you. I'm going to try to help you. If you want to take in my legal representation, I promise you, I know some of the people involved that are pulling the strings behind what's happening to you, and you don't deserve to have this happen from you. Sure, you might have had some episodes or whatever, but you really aren't a bad person, and don't let them convince you that you need to have all the things done that they're trying to convince you that you need. This is designed to strip you of your assets. They not only didn't get this letter to Britney, but they filed a restraining order on her behalf, I guess, using the legal powers of the conservatorship, to where she was denied access to a person that was just simply trying to help her and was not asking for money, was not looking for a fee, or even really to be known, which I think is pretty telling. And so then you go beyond that. There's more and more footage of just, her pleading for assistance and being told that she's effectively been locked up. And then because the story was sold effectively so well in the media, where they're like going, yeah, crazy Britney, she lost her mind and everything like that. You got to put her on the meds and throw her in the mansion. They all did this over and over again to her and put her under a standard of judgment that is absolutely insane, ridiculous, and under no means would any normal person ever be subjected to this type of criticism or or anything about the choices they were making. Everything that Britney was doing at the time that she was doing was pretty much within the natural order of things, especially when you consider that, yeah, she is pretty wealthy. Of course, she's going to go out there and enjoy herself and have fun and have a good time. And she may do that to excess at times, especially when you're in your early 20s and things like that, guys. You're still figuring things out. I mean, yeah, by the time you get in your 30s, maybe you should be doing less of that. 40s, okay, admittedly. Some of us are a little bit sillier than others, but, shine on us crazy diamonds. still staying keeping it weird into the 40s, okay? No worries there. Not too weird though. But comfortably. But anyways, guys, what I'm saying though is that, all humor aside, that people have the right to just make mistakes and stumble a little bit and whatever without being, subjected to such a cruel media machine as was done to her. And it was really pretty obscene the way they were trying to break her down and make her cry. The whole thing felt ritualistic and MK as hell. I didn't like it. I still find it really offensive to review the Diane Sawyer footage. I don't care what the View said. I was talking about that a long time ago before they ever brought it up. It's bizarre to me, guys. I mean, some of these things, a whole bunch of us were bringing up a long time ago. And it's just like nobody, I don't know what it was, man. It didn't feel like people really cared at the level that they should. I'm glad it's happening now. I really am. And I hope it all turns out well for her and everything like that. And then a lot of people start to learn a larger lesson from this. On that point, all right. BESSEMER Trust. Okay, I started thinking to myself, this is one of the groups that was behind her conservatorship, BESSEMER. I just noticed, guys, I'm just telling you, it doesn't mean this is it. And that company probably existed for a long time. I have no idea what its history is. But I can just tell you that anytime somebody's trying to control information surrounding a person, a BES, a BES, is a huge part of the technology piece that they use. And so a BES equals BlackBerry Enterprise Server, and that is equals a RIM. It's sort of like it's a RIM, which is research in motion, IT server for smartphone encryption. Hope that satisfies people that are tech geeks too. Let's try not to get too whatever with it, right? Extreme, but the critiques. But yeah, so BES would be BlackBerry Enterprise Server, and Research in Motion IT server for smartphone encryption. Okay, and so what I'm trying to do with explaining this to you is that if you're trying to control a person's informational environment, if you're trying to keep them in a quote like always like surrounded with informational control, you would simply just have to have them always near something that would push them onto a private server that is always routed back, is guaranteed to be routed back to a central place that you have control over. And it occurred to me that they could have very likely buried within all the other things they did to Britney within the legal documentation and the agreements, something that would involve delaying her ability to post things on the internet, which would basically control her informational flow. So say she just wanted to go on Twitter one day and be like going, hey, I don't like the way this political issue is going, and I'm going to state my opinion as Britney Spears, right? Well, it would be a way of preventing her from doing that, for her health. It would be a way of saying that, well, she's prone to doing things where, she's impulsive. So we're going to put her on a private server where she's not allowed to directly put it out, because that could be dangerous for her career and her reputation and cause her problems. So they would claim that they're doing that for her health or for her benefit, when in all actuality, it would strictly be done just basically to make it to where they have total dominance over all the messaging going in and out. And so if she does want to do something, it's going to have to go through that environment. And I had a strong gut feeling, guys. I was doing material on Britney's case back in October of last year. And I had a strong gut feeling back then that she was secretly communicating things that I guess, again, I guess a lot of people got on the internet and were being kind of goofy about her using colors and different things and different kinds of dances to sort of say things. I didn't pay attention to it, guys, because these aren't things that I really get that into. But her case intrigued me more because I've always really felt like there is something way, way deeper going on with the control of her information, and her ability to actually control her income in a way that was quite by design. It was almost like Britney was almost like this test case. How often can they get away with doing this to people? How often can they get away with just turning somebody into just this sort of like persona that's a revenue generator that becomes a company in and of themselves, a brand in and of themselves, that they can just churn and cycle out more new material, all connected to the quote brand. And she just becomes a mere puppet icon of herself. She's not even really her. She is simply the face, the puppet that is placed in front of the caricature that is her own name. And when you wake up to the reality that that's happened to you and nobody seems to get it, like nobody will look you in the eye and go, all I can say is that I saw it. I saw it. I felt it. I saw it. I could see it in the way that she was looking into the camera when she was doing those things and saying what seemed like bizarre phraseologies about what she liked to do every day. And that I was like, no, man, she's there. You have to look, like really look, man. She's got something seriously deep going on there. She's communicating on a much, much deeper level. She's usually symbolic communication. She's under duress. She's under distress. There's something going on where she doesn't have full control over things. And I could feel it strongly, guys. And anybody who follows my material, you'll know I'm a pretty strong intuitive. I have pretty strong psi ability. This is one of those things that could be measured and proven and things like that. So I don't like to delve deeply into that part, except to say that, yeah, I do tune into things. I do get it. I can kind of review things sometimes like that and go like, no, there's definitely something more going on there. And, guys, you can go back and look it up. Anybody? Yes, guys, White Boy remembers I was talking about this too. Yeah, welcome there, by the way. Yeah, I was talking about this, and I was saying all kinds of things about all the ways that they could basically be hijacking her information and making it to where people who wanted to help her couldn't access her or contact her or communicate messages to her. So I think very wisely and cleverly, something happened wherein maybe she started tapping into some of these other things and doesn't even know that they're a reality, and maybe kind of going and would be reluctant to mention that she could do it. She may have, all I can tell you guys is it's my strong personal opinion that she does have, whether she knows it or not. I do think she has psi ability because a lot of the people that are placed in Hollywood do have it in their DNA. It's just something they're born with, and they're used specifically because they emit plasma in such a way that if you can get these artists to constantly repeat phraseologies of the people that control them, those people that control Britney, what they're doing is they're using her as an energy conduit to amplify their individual influence, to make them richer, to make them more powerful. Yes, at a very basic level, even if you don't believe in my information about energetics, I'm telling you that monetary flow is energetics. A person's ability to hijack another person's likeness and image and popularity, and kind of turn that into their own conduit and funnel of both resources and ability to uh, you know increase their influence. What do I mean by that? Like the way that she was doing videos, I get it, guys. Like, she had that one song that was called You Gotta Work, Bitch. And I saw some of the clips where she was promoting it on different media stations, and it occurred to me like a lot of it involved her like cracking a whip and saying like, if you want a Maserati, if you want to go to cool parties, if you want this, you better work, bitch. You better work, bitch. And she's kind of cracking this whip, and it occurred to me that that's kind of an MK Ultra kitten beta programming thing in and of itself. It's getting her to project this loop of a phraseology that's really for her. It's them telling her, do you want a Maserati, Britney? Do you want to go to the cool parties? You better work. You better work, bitch. It's getting her to put herself into the energy loop and get her to put herself into the cycle of this sort of energetic like mind slavery and to self-identify this way. It's she's repeating it. It's as if she's looking in the mirror and convincing herself, you better work, bitch. You better work, bitch. You better work, bitch. That was the way I felt when I saw her going through it. That's all, guys. It felt that way to me. It felt like the whole thing is designed to place her in an individual loop of like that, you know? And so I don't know. Yeah. So sorry, I was trying to catch up here on some of the things here. All right. And so this is basically, I'm going to make this into a couple different things. I'm going to talk about technology, and I'm going to tie that into what's going on with the informational control of Britney's environment relative to her smartphone technology and her internet. So here's, if I were Britney Spears and I were wondering what the F, the things that she might want to look for are ways similar to the Pegasus hack. These are just ways to basically keep a person into a private server that is always being monitored by a central party. And she could have something that's nearly identical, if not that exact thing. Okay. Installed on her smartphone devices, and more than likely that would be one conduit of information flow. So if she's trying to get help outside of the people that have control over her currently, chances are they're listening to everything. And I'm not saying this to make her paranoid. I'm saying that this is incredibly easy to accomplish without somebody's permission, let alone with legal permissions that might have been provided through the conservatorship, which would be able to, I think, embed very cleverly within the legal documentation, probably something relevant to giving them control over her telecommunications, her internet, outbound, inbound. If it's not in the legal documentation and it is happening, I would strongly encourage anybody that does have access or is close to her to encourage her to definitely look into this and to make sure it's not just your average person. Like, you need to get somebody that, I don't know how we verify these people are cool, because most people, I think, can be paid to lie as technical experts. And so I really wish there was some degree of loops people had to jump through, or hoops or whatever they have to jump through to prove that they're legitimately, looking into something, because I think that a lot of the people that may be within the research or whatever, they're keeping people in Hollywood every bit as much in awe as anybody. And I think that the managers could quickly swoop in and be like, hey, investigator, yeah, you can take this case and tell this person what's going on, or you can go in on the cut, you can go in on the payment. This person's a cash cow. Why don't you just take the money and just report back to them this, and then we're all happy and you're going to get paid whatever, or you get a one-time payment and you just turn the other way and don't report what you're supposed to report. Or they try to do something legal, like get a restraining order on them or whatever, if the paying and the buying them out doesn't work. You know, I think that she would have to like look into that and then get more than one opinion. Um, and I don't know what the next phase of this, guys, is. I think this is happening to a lot of people. I think not just at the celebrity level, but I think even people that are, above average income, but don't always have control over every aspect of their environment. All I can say is that if anybody ever wanted me to investigate what might be going on in their environment, I would subject myself to a great deal of scrutiny to ensure that the information that I produced for them would be something that could be publicly presented and demonstrates like the signal flow and everything else like that, so that people could actually, understand at a deeper level what was going on, and that everything would be above board and nobody would be taken advantage of either. Because I'm not necessarily offering to investigate her case in particular, but of all, whatever, guys. Sure. I mean, yeah, I would, if somebody provided me with at least a little bit of, expenses or whatever. That's all I would need. But sure, I would investigate anybody's case that was going through something like that at a pretty significant level. And I can tell you that I've found the evidence of these hacks over and over and over and over again, to the point where I wonder how many people are even on a regular cell phone network ever. That's how pervasive this problem is. That's how common this problem is. That's how many people just can't mind their own effing business, and and then stay out of other people's information. Now, here's the thing, guys. I personally, I just don't give it anymore. I don't care. I've learned not to care that much. So in the end, if somebody snoops or whatever, or gains access to or whatever, I'm kind of smirking almost, because I'm like going, that's a time bomb on your mind. If you get into my information and you don't really know what you're digging into, that's a time bomb for your subconscious that I don't think you're prepared for. It wouldn't be good for the average person that would get into it, because it would just F them up so much, because it would be like informational overload. Straight up. I know a lot. But when it comes to this issue, though, yeah, I could produce tangible reports and evidence, I think, if I had just a little bit of resources. And again, I would tell you what those are, how to procure the materials, how to perform an investigation independent of me, so that you could do it on your own, or whatever. Because that's really what I'm looking for. Is I would like to establish a trusted group of people that would provide exactly this kind of service that I'm talking to, that would do things very above board. Hell, guys, if you think about it, you could even make an entertainment series out of it, because I think people would really love to see like surveillance sweeps, and like, is there some invasive technologies here that are being used? That would be pretty intriguing programming. I don't know if it's already out there, but I bet you I could assemble a team of people that would be pretty interested in doing that, both to do a greater good and to do something that would be compelling television. I have a lot of ideas like that, guys, that I could expand on, where we could get a lot of win-wins for people, where you could kind of free people that are going through things like this, and simultaneously, maybe bridge the gap on like where this might be happening to other people that are similar to like Britney Spears, because there's quite a few of these cases that are out there. I think she's just one of the more prolific and more, I guess, obscenely overt cases of this top down, from childhood to adulthood, mind control conditioning, and then shaming rituals. Everything they did to her was so planned and so disgusting, that I think that's why that it's getting finally getting the appropriate outrage that it deserves. That people are finally kind of going, what the F? I am pissed that this happened. Well, good, guys. And we should be pissed when it happens in other cases, in ways maybe perhaps to people that don't have as much privilege. But again, I'm not knocking Britney because she has privilege at all, guys. No, I'm saying that once we understand her case and at a high level, do you understand, guys, that this system is used for, again, this is why I so applaud Britney, because she actually made a perfect correlation to what's going on with her and sex trafficking. Because sex traffickers, human traffickers, and people that hold people hostage, information control is a huge part of it. Monitoring every call going in and out is very important to them. All of those things are important in the pimp relationship relative to the man or woman or child that's being exploited by said pimp. And modern pimps, modern controllers, traffickers, they use technology hacks to make sure that no one is texting the wrong person, calling the wrong person, or anything like that. So before you raise an eyebrow at me, no, I don't do shit like that. And if somebody would ask me to do it for them, I would say no. And I select to know as little a bit about how it works. Not because I want to be ignorant or anything like that. It's only because in my case, guys, I think that there's some pretty smart people out there that just use me as bait to see who wants to hack me, who tries to hack me, and who can hack me. And then they, again, like I said, once they're in there, I kind of wonder, like, did you know what you're getting into? Because there's nothing like bad in that sense. No, it's all information. But it's like, did you know that you were, I mean, guys, like I would probably, it's not a 31 terabyte dead man switch, but I can promise you that the information that I have is something akin to that, you know. Now, how accurate all of it is, there you go. To me, that's why it's not a good dead man switch, my data. It does require some degree of interpretation by me. So I do have a lot of information that's like that. But yeah, just saying, because we're going to be talking about McAfee soon. I'll be leading into that shortly. But all right. So how could this happen to Britney? What would be the mechanics of her informational control? Number one, she would probably have her smartphone provisioned in such a way where the radios are designed to automatically push to select frequencies that can be controlled by nearby smartphones, network extenders. They're also called femtocells or e-femtocells. There's a lot of different names for them, but these are things that they can be concealed and hidden. And they also will oftentimes install what are called distributed antenna systems under the guise that they're boosting your signal in your home for you, when in all actuality, sure, it's going to boost your signal, but it's also going to make it more centrally controllable at all levels and every frequency. And so then they can tap you with a Harris Stingray or Cobham style intercept device. They can then basically steal all your information, texts, calls, everything, and always have it saved on a laptop. So like all your calls, all your texts, everything going in and out is effectively sniff reported, or can, in many cases, depending on the system that's installed, delay or control everything going in and out. And so that means to say that if she wanted to immediately get on Twitter and say, like, I hate my conservatorship, they could go, computer says no. Sorry, Britney. Computer says no. Not trying to add humor to it, but in a way I am, just because I want y'all to be, look, let's look at it with some levity now, because I think in the off chance that you should ever see this, Britney, this is just, it's to add some levity and humor to it a little bit, but yeah, the point would be, though, is that your phone, or whoever's phone, or whatever the person out there that might be going through this, is that the phone would basically be selected to either take your data route at an internet protocol address level, or the more clever systems would hack your smartphone at a more frequency level. So distinguish between these things. One is called air interface. That involves your radio frequencies. That's literally the waveform, the airwave that goes between the cell tower to your phone. That's one intercept that's way more clever and that fewer people could determine. This is something that you would need somebody more with my level of expertise, and the people that I have historically had working relationships with. We would be the types of people, because I had 20 years of industry experience, including breaking into devices, cloning devices, testing ways that hacks can work on certain devices. It was all part of my career, guys, ladies and gentlemen. I did this for a very long time. And I was I guess you could say, a forensic troubleshooter of wireless networks in the company. That means that I worked in the wireless companies. I was the person that troubleshot issues that were at towers, both at a hardware level for many years. I did that between 1997 to 2004. And then from 2004 to 2005, I was can you hear me now guy. I literally went to different places to fine tune the system, made sure the calls worked properly, drove all over. I did that in Oklahoma City. I basically optimized Oklahoma City with this other guy. We were just drive testing it constantly all day and night and fine tuning the data fill parameters and how they worked with all the different cell phones. And then after that, I got a job doing cell tower design. It's called radio frequency engineering. And that's when I really got deep into system performance and learned how to do long-term planning on how frequency propagates, how the signal actually travels, how far the signal can go. I've actually been a person that's been a subject matter expert on these femtocells that can be hacking your individual environment. Just so you know, I had a contract where it was my job on a daily basis to provision network extenders and e-femtocells for a company that gave them to customers. So literally, even though I was a contractor, I was a person that within the company people would go to and say, hey, can you explain to me how this femtocell works? Or could you give me some more instruction? Or can you help me with it, or whatever? And I did that for the last 2 years of my career. So that's why I know way, way more than average than most people about how your cell phone environment can get hacked from a whole lot of different levels. Number one, yeah, air interface. So that would be installing what's called the distributed antenna system, a DAS, DAS, or and these things are basically designed to basically install antennas in different spots. Like if you live in a mansion and you're in the hills and you get crappy coverage, somebody may offer this for you and you may go, oh, wow, thank you. Make sure you trust those people that are doing it, or make sure you get it done directly from the company. And again, that it's trusted, or that if you get it from the company directly, that you have some degree of officiality and registering of it, any of those types of things. I'm just helping you guys know. It's extremely easy to hack air interface environments and push your frequency off of where you should be. And then it makes your phone like you have to think of it like your phone is like operates on frequencies that go to the cell tower. And so clever people can simply spoof that signal and say, hey, cell phone, I'm your cell tower. And it's really another cell phone that has a software load in it that's telling your cell phone, your smartphone, that it's a cell tower when it's not. Then they just have to get you near other people whose phones are provisioned with that, like their smartphones also have an app and is provisioned similarly to like partition part of the radio resources in the phone to push you onto their server and make sure that as long as you are around one of them, everything you do must go through their route at an air interface level. Second way to do it, and they probably have both routes covered, is through the actual internet protocol address. So number one is air interface. What are the megahertz of the frequencies traveling from the phone, the invisible signal that goes from the phone to the tower? That gets intercepted. Then beyond that, your ability to transmit data on an internet protocol address. So you might be familiar with it, like you have an IP address assigned to your phone. This is how information gets sent, like your phone number. You also have an IP address on your data signal on your phone. And so that also is another backdoored route that can be done either by backdoor software, like literally somebody just going up to your smartphone when you're not looking, installing the app, or tricking you into installing it by sending you a web link that has the spoofed website that installs it and backdoors it on your phone because it'll ask for permission to install something and you'll say yes. What else? There's a lot of different ways it can work. Okay. So I don't want to belittle that. And actually I can give you, my plan is to actually show you a presentation here on how that all works here shortly. I'll show you one of my old presentations. Okay. It's actually not that old. I only did like a year ago, but it's when I discovered or rediscovered, I should say, all the Cobham material. And I'm like going, wow, I think what I'm experiencing lately personally is I think I've had something similar to the Pegasus hack in tandem with a something that's an air interface like Cobham, Harris Intercept style portable hack that's on smartphones, very similar to what's going on with her. And again, I can empathize. Look, when this is happening to you, even if you have my level of work experience and knowledge, I almost feel bad. Well, look, sorry, I'm not going to tell you I feel worse for myself. I'm just going to explain to you, like when you are conscious and aware that it's happening to you because you know the telltale signs, you know when your radio state changes, what services your phone should be seeing but is not seen. That all raises red flags to you as a former engineer in the industry. You kind of go like, this phone should be working different than it is. And so part of my goal here, I think, is eventually to have an established working group of people that can be trusted, very above board, very transparent, will discuss their methods and techniques in a public way, in a way that informs and educates everybody. And my hope is at some point that I can get that going, that people will have enough interest to where I want this to be like a very truth-oriented, verifiable. We produce reports, we give people documents, we say, here are the numbers, here is how you replicate these results, here is how you also can detect everything that we're discussing here. Our purpose won't be this to like go in everywhere and charge exorbitant fees to people, blah, blah, blah. The point of this group would be to, we would need to have, financed case studies through which to develop the materials, but I'm not trying to get well, look, guys, I would like to be rich, but I'm not trying to get rich doing this. I would like there to be a greater good to this material, because I think this is happening to a lot of people, not just rich people. I think this is happening to people in very incremental ways where, she's having millions stolen from her, but they can do it to you in a way where they're stealing 50 cents here, $1 there, a nickel there, a dime there, and they can nickel and dime you down to nothing. Okay. And that's the reality of these systems. They really can do intercepts that just siphon off money, monetary transactions, percentages by adding percentages to your transactions that would normally not be there. It's weird actually, because I was, again, guys, part prices can vary, but I talked to somebody that ordered something very similar that I did, and I observed that the price that they got was almost a third of what I paid for from the same vendor. And mind you, I bought my part maybe 6 months, not even that long ago. I think it was like 4 or 5 months ago that I bought the same part. And I think it was even from the same manufacturer because it had the same texture and everything. It was an iPhone accessory. But like what I paid for it was nearly $10. And I think this person got it for like 2 of them for almost half that, or like 2/3 that price. It was really weird. And yeah, I get it. When you buy more than one, you get a discount. But it seemed almost like I was like, wow. I remember like feeling like I felt like I might be getting overcharged, because when it showed up, I'm like, this thing should have been like 50 cents for its build quality. It really shouldn't have been, you know, that expensive, you know. But it was. He charged me like $10 for the accessory, but that was still cheaper than most places was charging for the same thing, and it broke right away. You know, true to fashion, anyways, guys, not to spend too much time on the woes of my accessories, but the point would be that they can do things like that. So if you're rich and you're inclined to just buy things because you don't look at the prices, they're especially going to nail you because they're thinking that you're not looking, and they figure you're rich. So what the hell is it? What the hell difference does it make? Well, guys, you still have to respect people. It's their money. I get it. Maybe some of you thought this was some little devil's bargain because money kind of prints itself and maybe this person has more than they can do with, but it's still theirs. And it's still up to them how much they want to give to you, and it's their choice. Okay. Again, guys, that's just how the things work. You know, she worked for it. It's her money. Okay. Fair or unfair, whether you think that's cool or not, it doesn't really matter. She worked for it. It's her money. And just like anybody, you work for all your money, it's yours. Okay. And so the problem that I think is going on here, guys, is that I think that she's being kind of whittled down incrementally that way, in ways that she probably wouldn't notice. So I'm sure they're at a bare minimum taking percentages of transactions, overcharging for things in ways that probably, because she doesn't review it, wouldn't notice. So that might be one quick way of trying to determine if she has the hack. Does maybe do price comparisons and see if you can get in trusted environments where a person who's on a different IP route and is not in that, see what Britney might pay like on an Amazon website for a part or a piece of clothing or some shoes, and then see if somebody else is paying a different price for it somewhere else. You see what I'm saying? Because they may just add like 10-20% to everything she does, thinking she's rich. What the hell is she gonna know? And then who does that go to? The people that get the radio hacks close to her. It's like part of this little mob or mafia that always keeps this slush fund of money where they're always, you know, taking it from people in various ways, not just celebrities that are rich, but over, like, they're doing this all over the place, guys, as far as I can tell. There's like a mob or a mafia, cartels all involved with this sort of high level of just hacking, money laundering with smartphones, Cobham hacks, Stingray hacks. And Britney just really, I think what her case does is just sort of highlight all the worst elements of the way it can just be weaponized on one individual person in such an aggressive way, in front of everybody. That's the kind of, I think, the absurdity of what's going on with her. I think everybody else is just unaware that it's going on at the level it is. And so to me, she really is a great, and again, I don't want to use this person any more than they have had this happen to them. So I'm not trying to, like, again, gets more awareness around these other issues or whatever. But I think that her case, for those who are taking these things seriously, does actually make you review informational control, of the conservatorship relative to legal agreements that could potentially be put in backgrounds of all sorts of people, let alone what can happen just through hacks that are nearly unidentifiable to the average person, to gain access to their whatever. And so before I move on to another topic or show you any presentations relative to this, I also want to tell you, this is one of the reasons why I've been bringing up the outer limits lately. The Obit episode in particular involved a machine that is capable of surveillancing people based on human frequency and their brainwave and their body frequency. It literally tunes into them and can put their image on a screen, but nothing else around them. And so no objects in their hand are visible or anything. It's only their individual frequency of their body. And so this gives the operator this sense of data omniscience, which is to say they really believe in their heart of hearts they know everything that's going on with this person, even though they can't see any of their surroundings or objects, and they can only make assumptions about what's going on based on that image and nothing else around it. To me, this is always the mind virus of data omniscience. It's why I reject it. It's why I've always pushed back on it. It's why I've always said no, 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 no. I don't want it. I don't think we should have it. Yet at the same time, I understand this is a devil's bargain. I get that there's reasons why people require data omniscience in some things. I just feel like it's a little bit like government. Sure, in limited doses, everything like that. I think we all agree that it's good. It's good to have our roads taken care of, and as long as we're fairly taxed and not like giving 20% of our income to get next to nothing in return, then yeah, I mean it's not a bad thing to just put something in and chip in a little bit and say, hey, we need to have good roads and things like that. Cool. And maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe there's new ways of merging, road maintenance into ways that don't involve central government. I don't know. I'm open to that. Maybe we haven't found the best uses for AI yet. Maybe that's one of the ways that it could be done. I don't know. Just some thoughts there. Not trying to get too philosophical. Anyways, guys. But that machine gave a person data omniscience, and so I would just say that like I was saying yesterday or the day before, I can't remember when I had my last presentation, but maybe people should volunteer a little bit to saying, I don't want to know. And that's really what I've tried to do through my life. I was trying to explain this to somebody earlier, that I had a case where I had a person that I worked with that was close to a good friend of mine. And we all had worked for the company at one time. I still worked at this company. My friend left the company a couple years prior, but he still had an acquaintance. I'll be more blunt, a girlfriend of sorts that was working there at the company. And she did something pretty bad that I think that that if he had known about it, it would change his perspective of her reputation, because she kind of did something that would allow her to steal money, but she simultaneously did it in a way that smeared somebody else's reputation and framed them to look like they did what she did. And that's why the whole case was really kind of aggravating and frustrating for everybody reviewing it in hindsight. It was just the lowness of not only like what she did in and of itself was just stealing money from a medium-sized company, guys. It's a corporation. It had over 7,500 employees. So yeah, it's big, but it's not like it's the biggest company in the world. I mean, they still kept a pretty tight budget, and they still were whatever. They're pretty modest in the way that they approach things. They're a rural telecommunications company. And it was just look, somebody kept on trying to tell me, like, do you know what she did? Do you know what she did? Because she got fired. Do you know what she did? And I was like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Please don't tell me. Please don't tell me. It's not my business. There's a reason why when a person leaves a place that their privacy is respected. I respect their privacy. I don't want to know. But they felt like I should know, and that it was important for reasons. They go, look, dude, we respect that that's how you are, but this is maybe one case where you might want to make an exception to your rigid rule there. And so, again, I've had these things that have been placed in front of me at times to like as moral challenges a little bit. And because people knew things, and even though maybe they're not supposed to say it or whatever, everything like that, it's important. And so, yeah, I mean, eventually I found out, and it was the information was given to me, and it was said, this is all factual. There's no questions here. There's all the records on it. There's really no debating it. This is how it went down. This is how it happened. They straight up stole all these things in a way where they ordered something and billed it to the company, and they tried to make it look like this other guy did it. So again, the crime in and of itself, I don't know. Would I say that this person was the worst person for, like, trying to steal some things from the company? Look, it's not something that I would have done, but I don't know. I don't care that much. But when I learned that they tried to frame this other person by using their shipping account to accomplish this great feat, that's when I was like, that's freaking low. That's where it all kind of like falls apart for me. And then I felt like, wow, what do I do now that I know this? Do I tell my friend? Do I not? I don't want to get too deep into what I did or didn't do, guys. It's just that I've had these types of issues where I was morally challenged by information that was just given to me in ways where I'm like, I don't want to know. Let that person figure it out on their own. I really want to get back to where we were, like back in the 80s and the 70s, where mistakes just got made and people got over it. And that sometimes that when you made a mistake, you kept it to yourself and it stayed with yourself because you needed to process that individually on your own. And the whole freaking world didn't have it broadcast out over every IP address and frequency that was available. But now that's not the way it is. Now it's all out there, whether the people want it there or not. Now everybody's opted into something that they don't even have control over anymore, that's talking all kinds of whatever. Sometimes it's AI based, sometimes it's whatever. But the facts are, the information is just all out there now. And that's why I say, I really just don't want to know. Like, if you want to tell me, I would just prefer that you not tell me when it comes to things that involves a person's personal choices and individual reputations relative to their personal choices in ways that don't harm another person. If there's potential harm to another person and this person's being reckless with that person's whatever, I mean, look, that's a whole different thing. So again, like, if I felt like this other person had done something that was so criminal that it would place my friend in jeopardy in a way, then yeah, I did feel that I had to inform him of what I learned about her, because I wouldn't want him to get harmed potentially by some of her future activities if she had never been honest with him about what she had done, which she hadn't. And that was the big problem. And it just bothered me the way that the whole thing had been played out kind of in this indignant fashion. And so again, it was kind of sticking in my craw, and I was like, oh man, how do I get through this? And again, the whole thing wound up backfiring. Nobody was happier in the end. I no longer have any of these people as friends. And so what did the whole thing, me knowing all of this information, really cause in the end? Anger, resentment, this data omniscience that I've been provided and that I've had access to, I try to reject it. Here's the other thing I need you guys to know. Because I have such deep level telecommunications experience, I'm very aware of what can be tapped. I'm very aware of the information that can be culled on every single one of y'all. So if I make jokes that I'm Santa Claus and things like that, that's kind of all it means, guys. Like, I know all the ways. I know all the things that can be done to me, and I know all the things that are provided to me about others, and I reject it. I say, fine, but you don't need to tell me. I'll figure it out. That other person or whoever it is, they'll figure things out on their own. I mean, that's just how shit works, man. I don't want to violate people's privacy. And I don't want somebody helping facilitate that for me on my behalf, even if they think they're helping me. And again, if it involves personal safety, if it involves something that's very, very serious and absolutely cannot be effed with, then I kind of understand why you would make exceptions to that. And I think that that's very forgivable. And we just have to review those things on a case-by-case basis. That's the best thing I can tell you on how I feel about that. Sorry if this is getting too interpersonal, guys. But it's just because I do get information from the sidelines oftentimes, and I'm not sure always how to interpret it. And, again, that's kind of getting back to this whole BES server thing. How is a person at her level ever supposed to interpret, like, are her fans actually talking to her the way that she thinks they are? I mean, are any of us getting an authentic internet experience, do you guys think? Did you ever look on Twitter and notice that there's all kinds of people that post things that just have nothing but negativity and spew negativity and say all kinds of horrible things, not only just to regular people, but to celebrities too? And when you look at them, you're like, I don't think that person really exists. Well, you're onto something. They don't. And so, why are there entire farms of people that just populate on Twitter and other platforms like Facebook or whatever and just spew out bile and rejection of ideas and spread negativity? Are you catching on to energetics yet? Are you catching on to the larger exploitation? Are you catching on to why Britney actually made a case that her something what's going on with her is very much like sex trafficking? Because it is. She's literally being pimped by her dad. And people have been watching. They've been watching Jamie Spears pimp out Britney Spears since childhood. And eventually, this very strong woman, I started to see it in her eyes. I could see it rumbling, man. I saw those posts where she was like talking kind of fast, but there's something going on right here. There's something powerful that was going on with the way she was looking in that camera. I'm like going, no, there's something way, way deeper going on. I still haven't, I don't know what she was communicating in those messages in every case. I won't pretend that I know. I just knew there was something that was going on there where I didn't think that it was entirely unfounded that she was passing code. That's all. Because how else would she do it? She knew at that point probably that she had been trapped informationally. She'd probably at least figured out that something was wrong, but didn't know the exact mechanics of it. I'm going to get into that shortly, guys. On that note, yeah, let me just get into that. Let's get into the mechanics of it. Let me look that up really fast because I don't think I have the link ready here. I don't. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I got to get this YouTube. It's really running really slow, but I have way too many windows open. That's the problem because I've been presenting this material. All right, hang on here. All right. Everything I'm doing, it just requires like, I have like a 10-second delay on everything I'm doing here. Literally every type and every click. I do appreciate your patience. But I did an article on smartphone hacks and how they could be working based on the Cobham documentation, and it's very visual. I don't think it's talking over anybody's head or anything like that. Hmm. Sorry guys about the delay. It's literally just keeps putting me into a perpetual loop on my own channel, not letting me look it up. So I apologize. I'm not surprised though. Hang on. I'll look it up this way. I had this ready, guys, but then when I got on earlier, everything started to auto close on me on the windows that I wanted to have open. Hang on, sorry about that, guys. This is really Ah, here it is. I got it. Sorry about the delay, folks. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate that.
Everybody, just want to have a quick presentation regarding, I guess, what we could call something like a death rate.
All right. Sorry about that. Nope, that's not it either, guys. Sorry, hang on. This thing is moving like molasses. I do apologize. This should be going way, way quicker. So if you've got some questions or something like that, I'll try to keep an eye out there. But thank you for joining, everybody. Appreciate that. See, I used to have this as my main presentation. Stingray. That's how I need to look up Stingray. There it is. There's one of them. All right. Mm-hmm. The clip that I'm looking for, I know what it looks like on the title card, and it's at least 10 minutes. Almost there, folks. Sorry about the delay.
All right, I wanted to do this article just sort of as like a, I guess you could say like a visual presentation to supplement my mobile tower intercepts, wireless thieves clip that I did in front of a cell tower. I've been trying to communicate things involving like mobile intercepts where people can park next to a tower and then bridge what are like femto cells or pico cells or look, guys, there's a lot of ways that you can refer to these things. So, like when they're indoors, they're typically called a femto cell when they bridge off of a certain type of internet connection. And pico cells work a different way, and micro cells work another way. So, I don't want to wax semantics because that'll kind of make this whole confusing. But I'm putting this one slide up here just to sort of give you a general idea. Like, take those femto cells. I don't know what they're called when they're mobile, okay, because it would be a different terminology than femto. So it might be micro or pico or something like that. But the point is that you're taking this concept of the enterprise, okay, and you're taking so you notice how there's the tower, and then you have the three femtos. Think of those as like the vehicles, and that what they're doing is that they're establishing a link to the tower, and then each one of the individual cells that surrounds the tower can now bridge on to one of the other cells that's near it because it's just basically hopping on the tower. Then one becomes a repeater. Then once it hives into the one next to it, it becomes a larger repeater. And then once that bridges onto another one, then it becomes a larger one, you see. And so what they do is they drive around, okay, and they bridge off the cell tower. And as long as that link is established from car to car to car, and they can maintain it once it's off to one of the repeater vehicles, then yeah, they can basically take a series of semis, delivery trucks, large SUVs as like, I guess you could say beacon vehicles, and then everything else would be just sort of bridging onto that. You see what I'm saying? And then it forms like a larger cloud network, and then these people just drive around, okay? So once they've hacked into the link of the cell tower, it's just a matter of maintaining that hacked link and then forcing mobile users that are around them onto that network by pushing you off, by cell jamming off of your network, pushing you onto theirs. Now you're being routed through theirs temporarily until they lose track of you via the vehicles. And I believe this kind of helps explain the vehicular harassment jamming aspect of the program. and how it relates to cellular traffic and higher level cybercrime. Because I'm telling you, I've noticed some very strange patterns with the way that the vehicles travel in. And this would be a very clear explanation for the whys as to how it's happening. And if you really pay attention to these concepts, again, try not to pay excessive attention to what's a femto versus a whatever or a pico. It's just more the general concept. Hacking into the link, bridging onto the link, and then taking that elsewhere. So.
All right. That wasn't exactly the one that I was trying to find, folks. So, but the one that I'm trying to find is pretty long, quite frankly. So I'm not sure. Maybe there's a reason why I can't find it suddenly. But let's get on to the next topic, so I don't sit here just like looking for the same thing over and over again and never find it. But I did one that's about, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes long. That's of the same topic. And I'll try to get back to it when I can. But for some reason, everything's just lagging on all the searches, and it's making this impossible to do right now. So I don't want to excessively delay this feed. All right. So let's talk McAfee now. All right. Here, not that one, this one. All right, McAfee. All right, so I thought it would be worth reviewing McAfee's wife's official Twitter account, and just because I personally, over the last few years, since I've been on Twitter, I haven't been using it that long. I'm not a big Twitter. Well, I've started to become one, but I was really, really late to Twitter. I did not care. I did not want to get involved with it because I hate messages communicated in like 100 to 200 characters. That's just maddening to me to try to get most of what's on my mind out that quickly and in that quick of a communication. So I tend to write threads on Twitter and use it for threads as opposed to it being more for just, individual quick posts. The thing I've observed about McAfee is that ever since he died, quite a few people have been using, all the information surrounding him to like throw various spins on it. And so I wanted to help folks that are trying to decipher what's what, kind of get that there is kind of a, what do you want to call it here? There is a lot of people that are just sort of exploiting this situation, just like when Jon was alive, officially or whatever. He basically had a lot of people that would like spoof his account. And sometimes I would get these weird messages or Twitter things or that were sent to me or DM'd to me or whatever saying, hey, I'm Jon McAfee and you can invest in this and that or whatever if you follow my crypto, blah, blah, blah. And so I oftentimes would, if I ran across something like that, try to alert Jon or Janice that somebody's spoofing them again and they can file a complaint if they wish. Or I would do it, but I would alert them that somebody's doing it again. They should probably expect it. And then, again, I noticed and observed that Janice was quite cordial sometimes, would say, hey, I appreciate that. Obviously, it's not us. Thank you. But again, I never thought it was, and they were never like a wise ass about it. They always were like, yeah, thank you for giving us a heads up. We appreciate that. Things like that. So, I thought it would probably be best just to look, what Janice McAfee's saying. And so she's saying things like, despite the consequences, Jon was always willing to speak truth to power. This speech and many others like it are why Jon spent his life with a target on his back. And so, again, this is just I listened to quite a bit of it. It's just his, it's classic Jon McAfee talking about what are we getting in return for our money and that kind of thing. kind of going over why he can't be on the ship with them, and why he was on the run at the time. And so again, what she's been doing lately is answering some of these questions that people have been kind of throwing towards me, sometimes on the sidelines also. And so for both myself and for those folks and anybody else who might be interested, I just thought I'd go over some of the things that Janice is talking about. So somebody said they're a private investigator and they're doing their best with Jon's case, and that somebody behind it is big and someone made sure to silence him. And Janice says, of course Jon was, and of course they wanted to silence him. On that, we agree. I just can't speak to the validity of the information coming from the Telegram channel. I don't know if they're doing it for financial gain or just seeking to discredit the 31 terabytes of information Jon had. So again, guys, let's talk about this. Does the 31 terabytes exist? According to Jon's wife, yes, it does exist. Yes, it is out there. There is a dead man switch. Yet she is basically telling people that the people that are out there promoting this narrative, that it's what do you want to call it? That are promoting this narrative that the Telegram channel is Jon from the sidelines. She put here, I have no knowledge of who's running the Telegram channel claiming to be Jon, but I'd be leery of anyone claiming to speak for or represent Jon. While living, Jon always had people trying to exploit his name for the financial gain that has only amplified since his death. Someone asked, is the McAfee Telegram channel anything we should actually be paying attention to, or is it some rabbit goose chase some LARP is trying to play? So it looks to be like it's a wild goose chase LARP, according to his wife. Of course, that's not going to stop people from saying, oh, no, they have to say it. I don't know, guys. Maybe it's worth looking at. You tell me if there's something in there that's, that they're talking about that's worthwhile, but I'm not spending any time on it. So yeah, mostly just like, reviewing his history. They had a lot of dogs. All right. So those unfamiliar with McAfee, basically he was in a Spanish prison for several months awaiting extradition to the United States, and then he was found dead. And his wife is Janice, and they met years ago and got married, they got married, and they've been basically kind of like traveling around the world, just doing their appearances. And Jon is big into doing the crypto thing. He's the guy who invented McAfee antivirus. He's a guy that's just an admitted guy that got around. He partied a lot. He did a lot of things in his life, and he knew a lot, and he held on to a lot of information. And so, again, I understand how guys like McAfee are easy to discredit or, cast aspersions on the information that they're providing. But I would say that when it comes to Jon McAfee, that understanding what that dead man switch data is would be very important. And I think that any legitimate form of that data would likely include his disclosures relevant to the Belize human trafficking disclosures. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, I can replay some of that material here. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Yeah, here we go. This is from a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to replay what I showed that one time. I'm going to put it up on the screen here in a second.
I don't think I'm going to vote for you. And yet you're here now. And for a month and a half, I was on the run. The reason.
Rewind it. There it is.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
They won't be coming down. I'm not stupid. I had arranged with the head of security. I was going to come in. He said, sir, we shot my dog, abused me, destroyed $500,000 worth of property over a bogus charge. I was pissed off. And so I donated to many secretaries within the government laptop computers, really nice ones that were preloaded with viral spyware. Within a week, the entire government computer system was under my control. I was watching, monitoring, listening. I was looking for information that they had set me up for that raid. I didn't find it. I did find out that the Minister of National Defense was the largest drug trafficker in all of Central America. The Minister of Immigration, largest human trafficker.
We don't want to get killed by them either, so we're probably not going to.
That's fine. That's fine.
Are you confused yet? Sorry to be goofy there. Yeah, that's my footage from a couple weeks ago that I was playing there. So a little bit thicker beard though to this time, I guess, you know, but I did trim it a little bit. Anyways. All right. So that was his disclosures relevant to Belize, what he was willing to say in that type of interview and what they were willing to hear. And there you go, guys. There's lots of people that I guess are willing to talk. How many people are willing to hear? There's a fear factor kind of behind the people that are willing to listen to the types of information that people like us have. Are they willing to listen, or do they get spooked off? Do they get scared away from it? What causes that? Who's in control of those people, those gatekeepers of information? See, once you become a gatekeeper of information, you're a person that's a relevant interviewer or whatever like that. Yeah, there's going to be some people that are going to like swoop in to manage you. They want to manage you. I've experienced this, guys. I haven't been interviewed by that many people, but I did observe, for example, that with the Basis project, that that like when I did that interview over there, that Miles is constantly surrounded by people that, look, guys, some are good, some are bad, but yeah, there's quite a few people that are surrounding those types of environments where lots of people that have more abstract or esoteric information get interviewed. And like my information surrounded like quite a bit of things relevant to the history of the alternative history, I should say, of Operation Paperclip Nazi bloodlines within America, and influence of media, and things that are relevant to eugenics, and things that are close to like cults that were called like the Love Family cult, the Children of God, and the Source family. And the way that all of this was sort of like a larger cultural movement to sort of control breeding within the United States in ways that most people really didn't have a clue about. And it all happened like right in front of you, right in front of all of us. And we're all part of this grand experiment involving eugenics in a lot of ways, and strange things that have gone on with our relationships and our DNA. A lot of us don't really know who the real relatives are. We're going to have to get some pretty serious people to help with the research of that. And folks, I need that to get to the next level. I've had some things go on in my life recently that have caused me an enormous amount of personal pain relative to this exact topic. How the F do we trust the people that have been historically connected to the testing of genetics, when it comes to, especially when it comes to those who have rare genetics? How can we trust those who we go to not screw us over, to not do things that manipulate our data, that does not do things to manipulate our information? How do we know we're going to get the correct information reported back to us if we're from a rare genetic class? Because oftentimes I'm learning that information is kept from people in a very deliberate way so that they don't know. They don't want these people to know what their actual value is at a DNA level. And some of these people are literally like a seed bank, a holy grail of original DNA. And some of them are out there within the celebrity class, the actors, actresses, singers, and things like that. They're out there. They're in that group. And you can kind of see the ones that are and aren't. And the ones that are just have this, there's just something about them. They're different. The way that they emit there's a plasma emission. I think that I don't know, I'm going to say that it's like detectable or something like that, but there's something about the way that these people glow that's just different than the average person. That's all I can tell you. I think like an aura, if you want to argue that they have it, most people will tell you that the ones that have these bloodlines have a stronger than average aura. That is measurable, by the way, folks. If you mock those concepts, I'm going to remind you I have camera technology. This is called Carillion photography. I have a person that actually measures bio fields, which is to say, like, what is the emission of the field of energy that goes around your body, and how does that impact everything that you see and hear, and how do you affect everything outbound that you emit from that plasma cloud, because there's information contained in that. Sorry, not plasma cloud, but plasma field. You can touch this when we talk about the trinity of human energy. You have a skeletal structure. There's a skeletal structure. Whenever you're buried, you're going to have bones or whatever that's going to be left behind, right? And right now on the outside of it is your flesh and the skin attached to it. I discuss the trinity of human energies quite frequently. I haven't lately as much, but let's get a little bit into that topic just briefly. Trinity of human energy. Beyond that, you have your skeletal structure, which is your physical, non-visible. And then you have your external structure, your face and every here, which your physical, visible. And then you have your non-physical, non-visible would be your aura. And that's your biofield. But it is measurable and it is there. Just the same way that I can promise you that no matter what this phone looks like right now, I get it. You're not seeing a waveform leave my phone right now and go to the cell tower. You don't see a cord plugged in providing data to this phone, yet data is going to this phone. Information is transmitting to this phone. You, as your human machine, as your body, do the same thing with plasma. You are pushing plasma out. You're programming that plasma. You're having things associated with that plasma emission. And that's why those of you who have more influence, who have been in the greater collective consciousness, those who have had exposure to everybody, you must have become aware at some point that something else was going on with your energy and your influence in ways that you may not even understand. And so you're exploited oftentimes for that, the biofield, the biocloud, the bioplasma. And yeah, it's especially if you're under stress and trauma, the emissions of your plasma, especially when you're in a stress state, is an extractable form of material that can be bought and sold amongst the other elite class. And so, yeah, a very popular actor or actress that is exceptionally good looking or attractive, or would have sought after genetics, and maybe somebody wants to have a face more like a singer or an actor or actress, they could have this done to them in theory. They could be placed into a controlled environment, put into a conservatorship, and this be whittled down and extracted of their biofield, which is basically, once this biofield is extracted from, it does actually translate into something that's like a very fine amount of very concentrated, like essential oil that is effectively your bioplasma that can be just put down into the very smallest amounts of like extractable, almost like sweat and everything else like that as it leaves your body. All of that is programmable platelets of plasma that can be basically extracted and put into a bottle and then consumed by somebody else. And I do think this is actually happening to quite a few people that are popular actors and actresses. I think some might know about it and actually will opt into it voluntarily to make some money. But I think mostly they don't like the way that it feels, so they just opt into doing it to other people and keeping it a secret from them. And again, guys, I'm not trying to get too abstract with my information here. I'm just telling you that I can sense when it's kind of going on to somebody because their behavior might be a little different, a little bit more skittish. They talk a little bit faster, and it's because they're getting Parkinson's frequencies. It's over amplifying their body electricity in ways that make them like a little bit more like this, a little more skittish. And then that causes like this secretion, and you'll see a lot around the eyes. You'll see a little bit darker than average circles around the eyes. And then this is a lot of where it's all coming out of. Ears, any of these places that have collagen here. These are just the places that I know are the entry points and everything. I mean, because the way that we basically process plasma through the pineal gland is it enters through here, which we perceive as vision, when it's actually, these are like energy transmitters and receivers. And that's the shape of the antenna, the eye. Okay, so what we're really doing is we're taking these things and we're forming them together until they, do this a little bit, right? And then you have the difference of these two energy sources. They form that what you perceive as reality once it matches the pineal gland, the third eye. These energy emissions, this takes it in and out. It feeds into the third eye. It creates that triangular, meeting of energies. And this emission of the plasma, the electromagnetic signals that go in and out, strike the pineal gland. There's piezo responsive crystals that generate a color response and a color image within your mind. And it also pushes things out. So getting you to focus and concentrate on things of their selection and then pushing that out into an extractable watermarked plasma is valuable. I hope you understand what I'm telling you, because a lot of these people that you think are these like huge celebrities, this is kind of happening to them. It's somewhere between like sophisticated sex trafficking, much like the way Britney described it, right in front of everybody that nobody does anything about, combined with something akin to vampirism that is not acknowledged exists. And so do you see the perfect system that the paparazzi Hollywood culture is designed for itself to basically be able to keep somebody harvested from birth to death in a predictable cycle of that they control top down? And Britney's been a classic example of how this is working, if you ask me. I think that she would have bounced back very easily from a lot of the things that she was challenged with or went through that weren't even that bad as individual decisions. They're human decisions. They're normal decisions that nearly every human being her age, with her kind of, especially with her resources, makes. Sorry to get back to the other topic, guys. I did kind of cover, though, the McAfee thing, but it does all kind of fit together when it comes to this whole way that we basically, and this is kind of relevant what I'm talking about here, guys, I'm not going to talk too deep into the Hollywood ley lines things because I already kind of delved a little bit into it. So sorry if you're hoping that I would go deeper into that right now. I might save that for a little bit later as maybe if I have some second wind or something like that. I don't know. Or if you want me to answer to some of that topics, I can, guys. If you have some questions, feel free to throw them out there here, because I'm going to probably close down the feed in about 7 minutes or so, maybe 6 minutes, I think. 5 minutes. So ask away if you've got something. Otherwise, I'm going to keep talking here a little bit. But I wanted to replay the McAfee, like what he knew about Belize relative to human and drug trafficking routes, how that information seems to be overlooked by everybody. No one's really paying attention to that as like one of his key data sets. How something like that can just get said by somebody that prolific who has that much information and just everybody goes, yeah, that was said. I understand it. It's happened to me. I mean, even when you can kind of go like, this really does lead to this, guys. Look right over here. This kind of points to this. It's the same response. It's a lot of shoulder shrugging and people kind of going, well, what can I do about it? Well, with the way information's controlled in our country, yeah, on some point, you got a point. Like, not a lot can be done about it if you just take it, if you don't understand it better, if you don't make an individual selection to know how your air interface works on your phone. How does your phone transmit signals between it to the cell towers, just at a basic level, just to the way that I describe it to you. Hopefully it's not too complicated. And I do, put it in layman's terms, even though I've got a couple decades of experience. I really wasn't a professional engineer from the sense that I was, went to school like a college or something like that, got an EE or an ME, and then went into a professional engineering career. It wasn't like that. I was literally just got like out of high school. I was looking for something to do. I stumbled into it because it was a temp job at a cellular phone company. I thought it was really cool. It got progressively less clerical and more technical. And then by 1997, I was fully immersed in a technical career at this company that began as a mere administrative and sales like position as a temp. And so I just stumbled into it. And that's why I know as much as I do. And so I hope that this was informative about, what kind of challenges Britney Spears may have to both her internet protocol environment potentially all of her phones being passed through a private server, a BlackBerry Enterprise Server, otherwise called a good server, a BES server, whatever their nomenclatures might be. And that could be potentially causing a lot of lack of ability to access information, or her having to go through some more, there's ways you can get out of it temporarily, but you have to know what you're doing. I mean, these people can't watch every aspect of a technology hack every moment. And sometimes if you know the right thing to do at the right time, like you can kind of troll the people that have you hacked so that you can kind of send them a message that you know what's going on. I mean, I don't like doing that, guys. I really wish people would just sort of like whatever, but I kind of understand it too, guys. It's tempting. And so I kind of forgive people while they're working through, should I be this kind of person or shouldn't I be this kind of person? I don't try to be a dick about it. I just say that I'm kind of like Santa Claus that way. Sometimes I become aware that it's happening to me and I kind of know the source of it, but I kind of let it go on. And just to see why, how, what's motivating it. Is it from a real sincere point of needing the information and that I respect? In that case, I won't be so judgmental. But if I think it's there for malicious purposes or to steal or to delay or lag progress on a very important issue, like, for example, I wouldn't tolerate it if I knew somebody was stalling or lagging my information relative to human trafficking. That would bother me a great deal because I don't want that information to be stalled, lagged, and delayed. I want that to be out there. I want it to be known, and I want that to be reported on. And I have quite a few bit of leads on that that are beyond leads even. It's ridiculous. I don't understand what the hell's even going on with it to this day. But I, at some point, had to rest my mind a little bit and be a happier person and not think so much about all those things. But, the truth is, guys, if you know as much as I do and you have the ability that I do to decipher these things and pick apart these issues in a way that's at a higher level like I do, it's almost like I have a social responsibility to address it. But see, a social responsibility does not pay my bills, and it does not relieve me of financial responsibilities that I have. And so as much as I want to serve a greater good and do things for people on a broader level, I do have to pay the bills. And so on that note, folks, I do would appreciate it if anybody could throw me some support to this channel. I am in need of resources, and it would benefit me greatly if those of you who benefit from my material, both historically and recently or whatever, any of you who can and would be inclined to support my channel, I would greatly appreciate that right now. Or if you would just like to hire me or consult with me, or have me investigate your issue, we can discuss what it would take to do that, what kind of things that you would need, and I can make myself available for that as well. I do charge a fee for those things if you ever want that. And people who contribute to, I can make special considerations for as well. If you need some assistance in that direction, I'd be happy to help you as well. Anybody who might be going through things like that, any of the material that I covered tonight, I can speak to at a greater detail, do whiteboarding for you, and give you far more personal presentation material if you consult with me or hire me to do that. And anybody interested in working on something like that with me, please reach out. If you have work opportunities, especially, I would appreciate that. Thank you very much for joining tonight. I do appreciate your viewership. Good night. Thank you.